That did.
Hey James, how's it? How are things going?
All good. I don't know if you saw, we've got 15 responses to the survey now, including you and myself.
Okay.
So I'm quite pleased with that. I've messaged, I don't know if you saw my email about what I've been up to with the survey.
I just saw it. I haven't had time to read it though.
Okay. So I've done one-on-one messages to about 20 people who I've been commenting on their posts regularly. And quite a few of those people have done the survey. Then I emailed yesterday, and if we can get 20 responses, I will be reasonably comfortable. If we can get 30, then I think we'll promote it again next week.
Yep.
And it's still early days for the rest of the team to repost and so forth.
Yes.
Steve, hi.
How's it? I'm just trying
We
to work
we
out
can we
why.
can see your background, but we can't see you.
Yeah, that is quite odd because I haven't changed anything since my last meeting, and yet it is not talking to me, which is weird.
You're the incredible, visible, invisible man.
There we go.
Ah, there
There
you
we
are.
go. There
Right.
we go. Yeah, it's because it's using a different camera. Okay. How are you guys?
Good, thank you. And you?
Good. Good, thanks. Good. It's a beautiful day in St. Francis Bay.
Excellent. David, hi. How are you?
Good, thank you very much. Good morning.
Good
Hi,
morning.
David.
Good
Morning.
morning. Good afternoon. When Jeroen joins, it'll be good evening. So you say the weather's good in St. Francis Bay.
Yeah,
Steve,
we've had a miserable week of rain and wind and
right.
all kinds,
Hmm.
but today it's beautiful and tomorrow is beautiful.
Okay,
So
great.
we're enjoying what's there at the moment.
Hi, Jakob. Hi, Bob.
So,
Hello.
how's the weather in London, James?
It's quite a nice sunny day. It's cool.
Good.
It's
Good.
about
Okay.
probably about 55. Um,
Okay.
Hi, Jonathan.
Good afternoon.
Right, shall we get started? I think there's still a couple of people to join, but it is time.
Mhm.
So, welcome everyone. Just a few opening remarks from my side. Very encouraged by the way things are developing. We've got quite a lot of momentum. We've got a number of new faces here and still a couple of others to join in the next few minutes. So Ted and I have been pretty busy. We've had quite a large number of meetings. We got the critical concern survey out yesterday and a few other bits and pieces, which I'll talk about later in the meeting. The key thing is just to welcome you all here and say that I think we're on track. I think we may even be a little bit ahead of being on track. So that's all I really want to say. Ted, over to you.
Um, I I'll keep it really short at this point. I think one of the things we'll need to do in the near future is to reach out to the CEOs of SMB manufacturing and distribution companies in particular. I think that's an area we're all familiar with. And the point of that outreach is to get some feedback from the CEOs that say, to the effect, give us some credibility and tell us, yeah, this is something they want. So I think we need to create some awareness in the marketplace. I think that's critical for us. Certainly, it'll be critical to drive membership. But if I'm too soon, like my thinking was, we would reach out to them and just say, "Here's what we're, trying to accomplish. Is this something that's of interest to you? Yes or no?" Something really simple. Just as I said, one, to create awareness, two, to have some credibility that says, CEOs are interested in this kind of thing as we talk to potential members. But
Right,
if
thanks.
anybody has any thoughts on that, let me know.
Thanks, Ted. I think Jonathan's going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. I've got a mailing list of about 9,000 C-suite in South Africa, in the UK, but it's not a very good quality list. And I've also got another list of about 200 FTSE 250 company CEOs. But we can flesh that out in the days ahead. Brian, hi. So I'm going to move on, and Brian, you're just in time to talk about membership and marketing.
Yeah, sorry, I'm having a few network and connectivity issues at the moment. Yeah, so we've just finalised some of the core documents with everybody's input. Thank you for that. If I'm honest, haven't really managed to get going on marketing, getting some marketing out there. Chris, I wanted to have a chat with you about the website. I sent you a couple of emails to try and arrange. Don't know where they were going. Just to try and understand what you've got set up and what we need to do to get going.
Sure. My email is a bit of a mess at the moment, my personal email.
Okay.
But if you use the IBSP address, I do receive them. There are relatively few there. But I have an update for you. If you go to our URL, you'll see WordPress is installed and running.
Okay. Do I have an admin log on?
I can send that to you.
Yes, please. Yeah.
You're comfortable with WordPress?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's installed and working. Happy to help with templates or whatever else we need to do. I've not yet got the database being backed up, but that will be done over the next couple of days.
That's okay. Don't worry about that. There won't be much there. Okay. All right. So we can probably move ahead on to trying to shape something on the website for review. Yeah. So yes, James, I'm a bit behind on actually enacting outbound communications at the moment, either for publicising the events we've got, or for membership, or for the survey. So B- must do better.
Okay, great. As I said, I've got a list of just shy of 400 contacts that I've made on LinkedIn in the last 4 months, so I can email them anytime that anybody wants to. I've also got in my CRM, I've also got a list of all the members. We're up to 47 members. It's climbing every day. We're getting a few extra people signing up.
Yeah. We just need to be mindful of when people have provided you with their contact details on LinkedIn. That doesn't always mean that they agree to being messaged and marketed to.
No,
so we just need to be careful from a GDPR perspective.
These are all people who've opted in.
Okay.
Okay. Documentation and standards. You would have seen about a week ago, Ted and I published the Code of Ethics, so we're fairly comfortable that that's a solid working draft for now. I've got in mind that I will put it on the landing page, and we will change the membership form to indicate that people accept the Code of Ethics and they're willing to comply. So I'll do that in the next day or two. Then we also distributed earlier this week the charter and I've gone blank. Oh, sorry, the other document we distributed last week was the membership schedule, which is basically setting out the different levels of membership. I don't think all of you received that, but that's also pretty much settled down. The charter was also distributed earlier in the week. So that's also now final. There are just a few tweaks we need to do on the Constitution. Those of you who were in communication with me would have seen the discussion about, do we form a legal entity at this stage or not? The decision was we're not mature enough to have a legal entity. There's a bit of a cost associated with registering it. The challenge is that the minute you want a legal entity, then it's bound to a particular legal jurisdiction. So if we register in the UK, we would have to presumably in time register in other countries as well. So we're going to continue at this stage without a legal entity, which means, well, it doesn't mean a hang of a lot at this stage based on the research that I did. So that's that. Christopher, you've mentioned the website. The survey is up and running. Nextcloud. I think that we will be moving towards starting to create documents in Nextcloud from a collaborative point of view in the next week or so. Chris, do you want to fill in anything? Has everybody got IBSP email addresses now? And as I say that, it occurs to me that Jonathan, Steve, Jeroen, maybe David, or in fact David as well, and possibly even Bob, do not have IBSP email addresses. So
Yeah, quite probable. Okay, I'll get that
Chris,
dealt with.
we just need to liaise on that. I don't think I've sent you their details.
No. If you can send me a complete list of the people that need accounts, I can
Okay.
finish setting them up. I think I've probably done 6 or 7 so far.
Okay.
And the same usernames and passwords will work for Nextcloud, which is now running. I've set up an appointment plugin for Nextcloud that will allow us to replace a portion of what the calendar application you're using uses. It's principally good at dealing with setting up times when you're available for meetings so that meetings can be scheduled through Nextcloud. I have a solution for event, which I think is the other thing that we need to allow people to sign up for. There's a open source project called cal.com, an open and closed source, and there's a version of it called cal.diy that seems to be equivalent in pretty much every way to Calendly.
Yeah.
Calendly. And it's about 90% working. Having a little bit of trouble connecting to Redis on the server that we have. So I expect that to be done by the end of the day or latest Monday.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Anything else from your side?
I spoke to Peter very briefly. He postponed the meeting with me to next Monday. My fault. I hadn't sent a confirmation and a Zoom link earlier than early today. So we're going to talk on Monday, and hopefully Peter can help me try to keep some of this IT stuff up to date.
Okay, great. Could you copy me with that invite as well, please, Chris?
Certainly. Yeah.
Thanks very much. Folks, just as a general observation, I read very fast. I process emails very fast, as you may have seen from the volume that comes out from me. Please keep me in copy for everything at this stage, just so that I can see how everything's coming together. And I will generally acknowledge, I clear my inbox before I go to bed every night. So you will generally get an acknowledgement from me by end of day, or at the very latest by the middle of the next day. Right. Continuing professional education. We had a very interesting session with Jakob last week. I think we had quite good response there. We've got topics next month, May. We're doing the roundtable, the CEO roundtable, and I need to tee up a panel for that, which I would imagine would be Ted, myself, Jonathan, David, and maybe 1 or 2 others. The subject of the meeting is how does a practitioner escalate? Because we're saying that the CEO must be the custodian of, certainly if it's an ERP project or a major other business system, the CEO must be the custodian. What we've established is the majority of practitioners don't know how to have a conversation with the CEO. So the objective of the session is to just explore how do you escalate that. David and Jonathan and Brian, and to a lesser extent Ted and myself, are working on a program, a stream around executive engagement and strategy. And one of the key things that we'll be working towards is a document, or maybe a series of documents about why is it important to escalate to the CEO? How do you escalate to the CEO? What do you say to the CEO? What do you not say to the CEO? And things like that. So this meeting on the 21st of May will kick that off. So anybody who has a need to talk to CEOs, really recommend it. Then moving on, and then we've got Brian is talking the following month. If anybody would like to do a talk, please just email me and Ted. All of you have potentially got interesting topics to talk about that people will be interested in hearing about. So please feel free just to drop me a line, please. Then the IBSP body of knowledge. I hope you're all aware by now of the critical concern survey. It was launched yesterday. You should have got an email yesterday, and then I sent an email out earlier today, which reported that we've got so far 15 responses, including a number of us. For those of you who have not yet filled in a response on the critical concern survey, really appreciate it if you would do that at earliest convenience. I posted on LinkedIn yesterday. Brian gave me some copy. I revised it a bit, and an image, and so that got posted yesterday. I've sent you now, a couple of hours ago, an email with a link to the LinkedIn post. Please click on that link and repost that post to your networks. I think that's really important. What I did yesterday afternoon and this morning was I keep a record of all the interactions that I have on the LinkedIn feed. So I went through my notes for the whole of April, and I sent individual one-on-one messages to about 20 people that I've connected with on LinkedIn, and probably about 4 or 5 of them have done the survey so far. And in the email I sent you, there's the email that I sent and the LinkedIn message that I use. Please feel free to adapt it for your purposes. I don't claim that it's perfect. I got something from Brian. I did my tweaks to it, and please feel free to tweak it as you see necessary. But the more we can get it out there, I would really ideally like to have about 50 responses to the critical concerns process. So anybody, they don't have to be members, they don't have to be on LinkedIn. Any people that you have relationships with who have an opinion about ERP or other business systems, particularly ERP and AI, please, by all means, just forward this to them and ask them to fill it in. I'm going to keep it open, I think, probably for about 2 weeks. I want to give it time to build up a head of steam. Any comments or questions on that one? Nope. So the next area is executive engagement and strategy, and that's David and Jonathan. David, would you like to just give us a quick heads up on where you are?
Yeah, and appreciate it. And if you see me going for my coffee here in California, it's pretty early. So without the coffee, it almost feels like it has to be intravenous going into the veins. But Jonathan and I are going to circle back together one-on-one next week, James, just so you know, and do a little bit more discussion. But I think what's coming out relative to the executive engagement, and Ted touched on it a little bit, the more we have had discussions, the more we recognize that there are really two distinct market sets, as well as two, as far as CEOs are concerned, as well as two distinct market sets as relates to practitioners. With what we're leaning towards in that area, and again, Ted touched on it, in the SMB, which is small medium business, which again, a small business can be several $100 million in sales as well. that the CEO involvement there is most likely very different than the CEO involvement in obviously a corporate 500 type of organization. We all agree that executive involvement is key to success, but the message being delivered at the SMB level versus larger is most likely different as far as engaging with those individuals. So we're trying to pull that together a little bit more as a focus. And similarly, the practitioner that's going to be calling on an SMB has to understand the concerns of that CEO is most likely different than the concerns of a CEO of a larger corporation. When James introduced his chart of multiple C-suites, whether it's CIO, CTO, CEO on, CFO, on and on and on, in an SMB environment, you probably have a CEO, a CFO, and maybe an IT manager. It doesn't really go to so many C-suites. So that individual CEO is really focused, from my experience, on cash flow management as well as trying to figure out how to work on their business rather than in the business on a day-to-day basis. So we're trying to, and Jonathan and I will discuss this more when he and I have our one-on-one, what are the key concerns based on the survey responses at the different levels of corporations, and then what should be the focus of the practitioner depending on which market segment they are actually calling on. So it's taking shape. I think a major step was recognizing, again, that there are possibly two very distinct marketing opportunities for the Institute, for the SMB, as well as larger corporations. So we'll keep working on it and trying to structure it around the responses as well from the survey.
David, thank you so much. Just another dimension to that. We decided a couple of days ago that on the basis that getting feedback from executives, it was decided about a week ago that we need to do a critical concern survey of executives. We then knocked that backwards and forwards from the point of view of actually getting CEOs to fill that survey, and it's going to be a bit tricky. What we decided to do earlier in the week is to, for each of the four of us that are involved in that stream, is to do an AI inquiry in terms of what the AIs can research on the internet and find as concerns. So Brian did a research, I think it was ChatGPT, was it, Brian?
Brian, you're on mute.
Yeah, I know. I did both ChatGPT and Perplexity.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes, thank you. Ted also did ChatGPT. I did ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and
Claude, I think.
No, Claude, yes, and one other, I can't think of it off. So I'm just waiting for the rest of the team to give me their results if they want to, and I will then collate those into a considered opinion, which will be indicative. It's not going to be definitive, but it gives us something to start with. And then in parallel with that, working with the team, we'll put together an email that can be sent individually to CEOs. So that's basically the CEO survey. Then executive, no, we've done that one. CEO outreach, Jonathan is a self-proclaimed evangelist. His business is in providing services to C-suite execs. So he's very comfortable in that space, and he is going to start outreach to that area in conjunction with David and the rest of the team. Jonathan, over to you.
Okay, so just a couple of thoughts on this. The first one is that we need to be mindful when we're doing these outreach campaigns that we are potentially calling on goodwill that we're not owed. So, in other words, when you are sending out, please fill in this survey of critical concerns, there's two things to take into account there. One is a CEO might go, well, all right, 3 minutes, okay, fine, whatever. But you know, the subtext is, what's in it for me? Why should I bother? Which leads on to the second point, which is the most motivated CEOs, the ones that have suffered the most from an ERP rollout that failed to meet expectations, are they're in the mindset of it's too late, it's already happened, it's already gone bad. I'm happy to give you my perspective, or I will give you my perspective, but how does this relate back to benefit for me? In other words, where do we go from here? What value does the IBSP have to add back into the conversation after I've given you 5 minutes of my time? So, in other words, if we said the surveys we ask you to fill out, they don't just inform us, but they will translate back into value that will manifest in some tangible way to your organization in some reasonably applicable time frame. Then they go, okay, at least I can see there's a return on my investment. The first survey, yeah, fine. I mean, it's just one and blip and it's gone. But if we keep battering the same vector, saying, oh yeah, here's this week's survey, without some
I don't think there's any intention to do that.
I'm not saying it was an intention. I'm just calling it out as a risk. Don't use up the supply of goodwill that we don't know is particularly deep in the first place. The other thing I just wanted to call out in the context of outreach, David made an important point around the different perspectives of SMBs versus larger organizations. The way I think about it, and this is entirely open for debate, right? The way I think about it is that turnover is not necessarily a good indicator of the way that a CEO thinks about their software environment or their process management environment. So it comes down to process complexity in the business. I can imagine large organizations such as, I don't know, consultancies and things like that, that do a lot of work and generate a lot of money, but have overall low process complexity versus a manufacturing environment that might have comparatively low turnover, but very high internal complexity. And their thinking and their requirements around ERP are going to be much higher than their turnover might lead you to believe. So when we're doing these outreach pieces, yes, it should be segmented, but in a mindful way that speaks to the operating environment for the business as much as turnover.
Okay, thanks, Jonathan. And I think we're going to leave it to you and David in particular to work with us, but to steer that and to guide it and to set that. I think on that, I had a thought which is now slipped.
Get some coffee. Get some coffee, James. I'll tell you, it helps like crazy. May I just jump in just 30 seconds? John, I think what Jonathan's touching on, again, if I can kind of put it in a little bit of a box, a CEO in an SMB environment is typically concerned about it in all cases. Jonathan, I think your point of what's in it for me dovetails into all CEOs as well as into all practitioners. What's the value to the practitioner? In an SMB environment, my experience is that the CEO, what's in it for me, typically relates to their own personal lifestyle, their personal objectives, and their personal bank account. In the larger environments, when I was with KPMG and RSM, McGladrey, it's what's in it for me relates to how they're addressing the company to their stakeholders. And those are two very different environments, because in the SMB, the stakeholder is typically the CEO and the owner of the business. So again, I really appreciate those comments, Jonathan, that it is very different, and our body of knowledge and our focus has to reflect what's in it for me at the practitioner level as well as the CEO level in both marketplaces.
Thank you. If I can chip in the point that slipped my mind. The value to anybody who does the survey in the first instance, and then the broader value, will be a consolidated understanding of what the issues are, leading to a document which says how to address those issues. And I expect that will address it at two levels. The one is if you are implementing a new system from scratch, and the other angle will be if you have a system and it's not performing, this is what you do to improve the performance. So speaking to your point, Jonathan, even if they've already done a project in the last few years, they got badly burnt, they're unhappy, the output of the survey ultimately will lead to a situation where we can come back to them and say, these are some things that you can practically do to improve the performance of your system with wherever you are at this point.
I think there are certainly good reasons to fill out the survey, but I think the point is more that we need to communicate that to them when we send out the survey in a clear and succinct way. Yeah, because I know from personal experience, you get emails flying in, you have maybe 15 seconds to read something and see if you're interested. And if it doesn't grab you immediately, then it's in the bin.
Sure. No, understood.
Yeah. One last thing, if I may, on that one. In whether the system has been installed and it's failing, or there's view on going to a new system, what our message, in my opinion, needs to deliver is get the CEO's mindset away from thinking I'm about to absorb a major expense, but rather think about how they're going to be getting value creation out of utilizing the input we're providing. So it's always what's in it for me and what's the value proposition. The more they think about it as an expense, the less likely they're going to want to do anything. So again, it's value, value, value. What's in it for me? Otherwise, why am I engaging with you individuals?
Okay.
I'm going to say something that might sound a little bit against what everyone's. I think we're getting a bit too obsessed with the CEO audience at the minute. I fully understand that ultimately they are the customers and benefit from the servers, and they need to be slightly more educated or better educated. But ultimately, at this stage, we're trying to bring. I understand from a point of view of the survey to garner critical concerns as well, just to try and canvass some views so that we focus on building out the right content. But we really need to focus on bringing in some active members who can contribute to building some of the key assets that we want to develop. And whilst we need to keep them focused on what the CEOs and senior stakeholders in organisations will benefit from, I just think that we're spending quite a lot of time debating the importance of the CEO.
I think, Brian, the point is that this focus on the CEOs only came to light really 2 weeks ago. So we're still feeling our way. The whole program from the beginning, right from January, has been focused on practitioners. Everything that I did yesterday, the posts, etc., are all focused on practitioners. At the end of the day, in terms of an overall outreach, we're looking to you to lead that process. So you've got full mandate to do whatever you consider necessary to reach practitioners and enroll the rest of the team, other people to help you to focus on that. And what I'm saying is I agree with you. I see the CEO thing as something that we need to do, but I don't see it as a big piece of what we need to do. The practitioners, I agree at this stage, is very important.
I think what we're saying, though, applies to anybody within the business that we're trying to approach, right? Not just the CEO. There aren't many people I deal with day to day that aren't very busy themselves. So, we've got to show value to them. We've got to be quick, succinct. We've got to be to the point.
Christopher, I think the point's well taken. Thank you. Right, so we've got the AI stream. Jeroen Hendricks in Qatar joined last week. Bob stood down from the AI stream. For whatever reason, Jeroen hasn't been able to make this call. We had a very detailed meeting with him yesterday, and was it yesterday, the day before? And he's very enthusiastic. He is an AI practitioner. He has his own business. He provides advisory services to clients in Qatar. He's got a partner in the UK who he also introduced us to. And he's very enthusiastic. He understands that we're looking at AI from the business point of view, not from a tech point of view. And he's going to be putting together a plan of action in the next week or two, which we will share with the rest of you once it's available. So the next new person on the team is Steve Rogers. Steve is in South Africa. I've known Steve since 1993. We worked together on a couple of projects in South Africa while I was still over there. And I've got huge respect for Steve. So we've co-opted Steve onto the board to run a stream which we're calling Critical Human Foundation. And Steve, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, just a couple of words. There's not too much to say. I'm interested in why teams fail. And often when teams fail, they fail at the intersection of a project, of some kind of initiative. That's something that needs to be done that is critical. And normally what happens is that the focus is on the technicalities of what's going wrong and not on the people that are involved in the technicalities that are going wrong. And so I'm interested in the behavioral preferences, the habits, the intelligence, the EQ of both the consulting team and the client team, and making sure that those people understand each other. And that it can apply to ERP environments. I've worked a fair amount in Six Sigma, and understanding which people make effective black belts, master black belts, and so on, and why teams in sales or management or leadership, you sometimes find a team that is tremendously successful, and it's not clear why until you analyze what's going on inside the head of the individual. So that's my focus.
Sounds very aligned to Jakob's area of interest as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Steve, that's very, very close to my area of expertise and my area of interest. The whole mental health of both on the organizational level and on the team level, why projects are failing, why especially ERP programs are failing. So welcome to the team. I'm looking forward to debating that with you.
Cool.
Steve,
Thanks.
do
That should be good.
you use personality assessments like the DISC assessment, things like that?
Yeah, we use the full range. We have over 100 different assessments that we can use. We use a small number more often, but it depends on the situation. But yes, personality is important. Behavioral preferences I find very useful because people understand the language of behavior. So when I talk about somebody, for example, being cooperative or assertive, or you use that language, people relate to those words. And what people do struggle to do is to link the words as they are used about people and what kind of work they are likely to be good at doing. And it's that match that is often difficult. So take, for example, I remember a classic example many years ago. A chief executive asked me to help with the hiring of a PA for himself. And when he drew the behavioral profile, he drew his profile. So he was looking for someone that sounded like him. And I had to spend a fair amount of time explaining to him that that was the very last thing he needed was a competitor in his office. And eventually he realized what I was saying and why he needs somebody who's quite different to himself. So that conversation is often quite rewarding because people don't initially get it.
Thanks,
Brian?
Steve. Brian, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I said it. It's interesting because I was thinking about this the other day, so I'm trying to learn my hand now. I think there's another dimension that we should be concerned about from an IBSP perspective as well. So there's definitely the bit about forming the right teams to work on initiatives and implementations and ongoing improvements and the rest of it, and using those things you just talked about in order to sort of try and build the best teams and make the best teams perform. I think there's another bit about behavior as well, which is that the next generation of business users that are coming through that will use these solutions expect far more from the applications themselves and the solutions in terms of simplicity of use and lack of friction. And if everything's led to believe, then most of us probably don't fit into this because we probably never got assessed and diagnosed and put on the spectrum and all the rest of it. But I can assure you that anybody who's in their 20s and 30s, will lay claim to being ADHD or whatever else it is, and that's got a whole load of important implications for the use of the solutions that are being deployed and the way in which people adopt them, and the effectiveness that they then have. Because, as I say, I think we're creating a generation of people who have the attention span of a gnat.
Yeah, just make one additional point to your point about building best teams. There's often the situation that you don't have a choice of building the best team, and that you have to use what you've got. What I find useful though is that when I understand why you, as any individual, why you do what you do, that is a big step forward to me working successfully with you. And so often it's not about the best team, because that just simply often doesn't exist.
I fully understand that. It's also about making sure you use people that you are given the right roles and the right responsibilities within a team.
I think when it comes to testing and things like that, there is a bit about choosing who is in the team and who is potentially going to be disruptive in the team. And there's also, of course, the whole question of how people respond to change, because some people embrace change and some people resist change. I think we've just set the scene. My goal with this meeting once a month is just so that everybody has at least had a word with everybody else. Please stress, we're not trying to build some sort of dominant hierarchy here, looking for a flat organization. All of you feel free to contact any of the other people, set up a meeting, have a discussion, elaborate this. It's the different views of the mountain that I talk about from time to time. Let's get the best possible views. So having said that, Jakob is basically has given us a lot to think of with the Phase Zero talk last week, and also he's given us quite a lot of input into the whole conceptual flow, the journey of an implementation. So we've taken a little bit of a breather there, and we said we'll wait until we've got the critical concerns, so we've got a framework to put it all together. But we've already got, I would guess, quite a few pages of documentation that's been put together by Jakob, Ted, and a few others. So Jakob, if you'd like to just comment shortly, briefly on your side.
No, that's true. I did the presentation last week for you, and thank you so much for allowing me to do that around the Phase Zero. And the plan is, as you say, James, to bring that further into the work ahead of us. But as you know, my focus is I've been in the ERP business the last 25 years, but it's very much around the Phase Zero and the whole preparation. And I see really Phase Zero as a leadership discipline, as I discussed with you on the last meeting, where I've developed those 215, you could say, check questions, where the 15 or the last remaining one of them are around the health and the mental well-being of both the organization, as Steve talked about, but also the individuals. So how do we build high performance teams, and which individuals do we want to put together in a team to deliver, let's say, on a global implementation. I'm doing a life science life science project right now with 4 different countries. We just went live. We tested everyone personality before we brought people together, both on the system integrator and on the client side, because failure was not an option here. So we needed to know, who could work together and who couldn't work together. So we put basically people into an A team or an B team. And the A team was the ones that were comfortable working together, having a pleasant, work climate. And then we had the other ones, B, where we had doubt about them. So I do have a lot of experience in doing that.
Great. Thank you, Jakob. And then Bob is currently member without portfolio at the moment. He was looking at the AI stream, but he's opted out of that. Bob, if you'd have a couple of thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating to hear you guys all talk. I'm learning like crazy about the different emphases that are taking place here. I'm wondering, James, in terms, I like what you said about having a discussion with any member, and it appears that there are different streams going on. Maybe it's important to, in my case, and we'll have a discussion Monday about this, but that we are able to offer our experience in a number of streams and get involved with those meetings too. So I'll be seeking, I guess, access, if you will, to a couple of streams here and there. I'm really fascinated with what David's doing. So I'll see if I can get involved with that.
Okay, thanks. I think the thing is, from where I sit, if you look at the screen in front of you, there's not a single person with less than about 30 years of practical experience. We've all done all sorts of different things. And that's why I say when it comes to the executive engagement, I mean, we've all been there, done that, got T-shirts. So let's consult as widely as possible, and particularly once we get to the documentation of the body of knowledge, I really am going to want to see that we throw it open and say, right, this is the table of contents, these are the sections. You go in there and you put your bit in there, and we have a curator for each section, and we pull it together. I don't know exactly how it works. I've got a picture in my head. I'm sure the rest of you have got pictures in your heads about it. But I think we can come up. It's a bit like Wikipedia in a sense, I think. We might even set it up as a wiki. I don't know. And Chris, that's something that you can give guidance on. I've done a lot of talking, Ted. How about you? Have you got a few thoughts?
Not at this time. I think we're pretty good to go.
Right. Okay. Well, look, folks, we've got 14 minutes. So I'm going to throw it open to the floor. Anybody who's got anything that they'd like to contribute, building on what we've presented formally so far, please just feel free to start talking.
Well, Bob, you're welcome to join us as long as you bring the coffee. That's all I got to say.
That coffee.
Black coffee, yeah. Okay. Anyone else?
I'm happy to keep the coffee discussion going. I'm a big coffee fan, so let's lean into that.
I knew there was a reason I liked you, Jonathan. There you go.
Well, maybe the what's in it for the CEO is if you interview me, I'll bring you a bag of a pot of exclusive coffee beans or something like that. Folks,
if I could ask just a favor, Jonathan and David, as you're going through your efforts, if you could think about how we might reach out to CEOs, I think that would be helpful. Right now, as James pointed out, he's got a list, but it's not great. and getting lists is not easy. So, are there things like Vistage that we could leverage or other, but just give some thoughts on how would we find these CEOs and get in front of them?
Let's see. There's an organization, I forget its name, that specializes in UK CEO lists. That's where I got my FTSE 250 list from. And those are very, very well curated. The problem is that it costs money.
I hear you. I think Brian touched on it. We keep referring to CEOs, which again, I understand
C-suite.
C-suite. Let's call it C-suite. But I think Brian touched on it. There's two parallel paths. It's the value proposition for practitioners and bringing practitioners in, as well as a value proposition on what the institute can bring to the C-suite. So I think there's two sets of roads.
Point made, point agreed. So I think, is there anyone else who's got anything to add? I'm just going to whip around the room, just looking at my screen. So Steve, anything last closing comments from your side? All good? David?
Nope, good.
Jaco?
All good.
Jonathan?
All done here.
Christopher?
Brian, I see you've got the username and password. I'll get the plugin in there today.
Thanks.
Super. Brian?
No, the sun is shining. I've been at my screen all day. I'm looking forward to the weekend.
Okay. Bob?
I'm good.
Ted?
I'm good.
All good. Peter, I haven't brought you in. You lurking there in the background. Any comments from your side? You're muted.
I was just listening in because I'm still on site, but I'm all good with everything and looking forward to the chat with Christoph on Monday.
Great. Folks, thank you so much. I think it's been a useful meeting. I think we've got everybody sort of informed about what's going on, and I look forward to everything that you are all going to produce and we are all going to produce in the days ahead. So thanks very much. Cheerio.
Yeah, have a great day.
Cheers, everybody.
Okay. Cheers.
Bye for now.
Cheers. Bye.
Ted, you staying on?
Yes.
Your thoughts?
I think things are going pretty well. I guess we might have to give some guidance for people on, this is what we're looking for. Like, what have you been able to do since we last talked? Are there any roadblocks that you're having? What do you see as the next steps, kind of thing?
Right.
So just maybe a little more structure for them.
Well, I think what I'm thinking, we've got, I think, 3 or 4 meetings with new faces in the next week. And I think we should then cap that type of meeting unless it really stands out. And let's focus on guiding the team. So I think we should be looking to get into some sort of cadence that every month we meet for an hour with every member of the team. So we spread that out over the month, and let's just get that rolling. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. I think, again, I think once we get the critical concerns done, we can then, determine the role of everybody. So I think it's starting to emerge, but maybe some better clarification on expectations would help.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's about it.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we got a call in about an hour and a half or something.
Have we?
We have a call with Christopher Gaither.
Oh, we've got Christopher Gaither. That's right, in half an hour. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'll see you
Okay.
then. Right.
All
Okay,
right.
Ted. Radio.
Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.